Peace, everybody. How you doing? I am Granddada Maroon, aka Negro Jack, Big Juice Wanna. Now, this is Maroon Nation, and we are here to discuss what is going on in society. And for this show right here, this is how to prove to anyone that Queen Elizabeth is the Luciferian queen, right? You know, if you watch the other shows, you know that I've proven that Julius Caesar and Augustus is the God and Jesus of the New Testament. Wow. I also showed you in another show how Sargon, the emperor, is also the God of the Old Testament. So in this right here, we will be addressing how. Hold on a minute here. Let me make sure one thing is up. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we recording on Twitch. For some reason, I'm having like delays, so I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to try to figure it out because I want this to go smooth. So anyway, in this right here, like I said, I'm gonna show you how the Luciferian system is set up by the British Empire, like how the Roman Empire set up the Christian system, and how the Akkadian Empire set up the God system. Right? Okay, so let's go over here. Oh, my fault, my fault. Let me bring this up. Take me away. Right? Okay, Luciferian system. Deceptive prophecy is a fascinating topic that intertwines biblical prophecy with the history and future of the British monarch. The prophecy is rooted in the biblical promise made to the patriarch Abraham and later to King David, ensuring that his descendants would always rule over Israel. This promise is often referred to as the scepter promise and was mentioned in Genesis 49:10. The prophecy suggests that the British monarch is the continuation of the Davidic line, with the throne of Britain being linked to biblical throne of David. This idea is explored in various works such as The Throne of Britain, The Biblical Origin and Future, which delves into the historical and biblical connection of the British royal family. So, as I explained in other shows, once you take that seat of emperor, right, you are your coach, the ones that follow you, are going to set up a system where you will be worshipped. What's going on? Where you will be worshipped as a god. The prophecy also touches on the future of the British monarch, speculating on the endurance and significance in the modern world. Some interpretations suggest that the British throne will continue to play a critical role in fulfilling biblical prophecy. Right? Okay, so now let's look over here. King Henry VIII, right? He set up the Protestant reform, who was the first to go against the Roman Church, right? So we have the York Rite, because this is dealing with Freemasonry. So we have the York Rite, which is Queen Elizabeth I, and we have the Scottish Rite, which is Mary I of Scots. Ironically, we have two sides, and ironically, we have two daughters of this setup, right? So just to let you know that, yes, Freemasonry is building a new religious system right in front of your faces. Luciferia. Luciferia is a female Latin name meaning light bearing and referring to Diana Luciferia, the title or aspect of the Roman goddess Diana. Now, as you know, when I showed you the Roman setup with Augustus and how his temple was set up right next to Diana, right? Now we also have Luciferia, a daughter of Greek god Plato, invented by Spencer and the Feria Queen. Now this is gonna play a major part in the story. Right, so we know King James set out two books: Demonology by King James, and he also authorized the King James version of the Bible. Now, why is this? Because he's dealing with two systems: one taking you away from, which is, the Bible, and setting up his new system for his aunt and mother, which is, the Luciferian system. Let's look at the Feria Queen. Was written during the Reformation, a time of religious and political controversy. After taking the throne following the death of her half-sister, Mary, Elizabeth changed the official religion of the nation to Protestantism. The plot of Book One is similar to Fox's Books of Martyrs, which was about the persecution of the Protestants and how the Catholic rule was unjust. Spencer included the controversies of a lesbian church reform within the epic. Glorian as godly English knights destroy Catholic continental powers in books 1 and 5. Spencer also endowed many of his villains with the worst of what Protestants considered a superstitious Catholic reliance on deceptive images. So we can see Luciferia, right? The Feria Queen is for Luciferia. Right, we can also see that this poem was based on religious reform. So we know that the Queen Elizabeth now is associated with Luciferia, the Queen. Right now, this is important right here. Renaissance magic was a resurgence in Hermeticism and Neoplatonic varieties of the magical arts, which arose alongside Renaissance humanism in the 15th and 16th century CE. Now, this is around the time of Queen Elizabeth. Right? So during the Renaissance period, magic and occult practices underwent significant changes that reflected shifts in culture, intellectual, and religious perspectives. C.S. Lewis, in his book on English literature, highlighted the transformation in how magic was perceived and portrayed. In medieval stories, magic had a fantastical and fairy-like quality, while in the Renaissance, it became more complex and tied to the ideas of hidden knowledge that could be explored through books and rituals. Now we know, Freemasonry deals with rituals and books, right? So we know that this system is trick knowledge. When we hear like the 5% Nation talking about trick knowledge and these type of things, this is what we are referring to, right? In medieval stories, magic had quality. Okay, through rituals. This change is evident in the works of authors like Spencer, Marlowe, Chapman, and Shakespeare, who treated magic as a serious and potentially dangerous pursuit. Now that's important. Why? Because, well, first let's Neoplatonic Hermetic theology is a combination of ritual mystical practices interwoven with philosophy and theology. It was developed by Lampias and other Neoplatonists, drawing inspiration from the works of philosophers including Plato, Aristotle, Pythagoras, and Julian the Chardin. The system focuses on the unification of the practitioner with the divine through universal sympathy, synthesizing Greek, Egyptian, Chaldean, and other traditions into a single approach to the elevation of the soul. So this is how we got into the Christian system, right? And I'll prove that in another series where I'll prove that the Jesus of the New Testament is also not just Augustus, but also Socrates. And I will be proving this, but that's another time. But now let's stick to this. Did Shakespeare place his name in the Bible? Now, Shakespeare already told you, he was nervous with this magic because if the truth came out, we would react differently. We would be able to, think for ourselves and see past the game, right? But if you look into, Psalm 64, you will see 64 words from the top, you would see shake, and 46 words from the top, you would see shake, and 46 words from the bottom, you would see spare. So we see the magic being placed in the book because he was one of the translators who translated it into, the English text that we see of the King James Bible. Right? Hold on, let me see if I could make this a little bigger here. Right? On this right here, you probably can't see it, but I was really this one, but I got a show on this anyway, where I explain how the Masonic symbol is also a vagina. So, if you look on the top, you would notice that it's where it says clit and all of that. And I won't be able to do it on this because I didn't realize that it wasn't going to come out as big. So I'll do it in another one. Here you go, right here. My fault. So as you can see on the top, we have the clit. Then if we look from the inside out, we'll see the lips located right where you can see the second finger pointing, and then we can also see the G representing the G spot. Right? Okay, now we see the York Rite, and we seen the Scottish Rite, Queen Elizabeth and Queen Mary I of Scott, right? And we also, if you know the Wizard of Oz, the wizard is the philosopher, right? As I explained that Socrates would be the wizard, of Christianity, and Renee would be the wizard of the Luciferian system. And I had a show on that, and I'll put that in the description as well. York and Scottish, right? Queen Elizabeth of England and Ireland. What was Queen Elizabeth's relationship to religion in England? Upon assuming the throne, Queen Elizabeth restored England to Protestantism. This broke with the policies of her predecessor, it's my fault, predecessor, and half sister Queen Mary I of Scots, Catholic monarch, who ruthlessly, tried to establish, keep it in under the Christian rule. For example, now this right here is giving you examples of how to know that Freemasonry is no doubt a part, is the building of this system, right? For example, a date, Anno Domini, AD 2025, becomes Annu Lucas 6025. This calendar era, which would designate 4001 BC as year zero, right? So now we seeing how, the Jews are taking it back to their calendar. Zero was adopted in the 18th century as a simplification of the Anno Mundi era dating system used by the Hebrew calendar, and borrowed from other ideas of that time regarding the year of creation. After the Mosaic text was published, dating creation around 4000 BC became common, and it was received with wide support. Proposed calculations of the date of creation using Mosaic from the 10th century to the 18th century were numerous and influenced by many decades. Notable Isaac Newton calculations pointed at the year 4000 BC. Among creations estimated or calculations for the date of creation, Archbishop Usher's specific chronicle dating the creation to 4004 BC became the most accepted and popular in Protestant Christendom, mainly because this specific date was attached to the King James Bible. And, as and I wanted to also use George Washington and showing how in Freemasonry, he is the god of America, right? York, right? And, the penis symbol, security, the face on a dollar bill, and the cornerstone, the corner state being named after him as symbolizing the completion of the nation, right? And, we went into Pluto because we was talking about how he is the father of Luciferia, was the son of Titan, Saturn, Cronus, and Optria, and the brother of Jupiter, Zeus, and Neptune, right? Poseidon, which would be Superman and Aquaman. After conquering the Titans, Jupiter assumed the vacant throne of Saturn as the sky god and ruler of the world, right? And Zeus, Jupiter, would be Superman. right? So Batman is made. This is just showing you how the art works, you know. And I have shows on it. So I'll be leaving this right here. I'll be ending this right here because most of the stuff that I'll be showing you would be just like flicks and stuff like that, because I really, this episode right here was really just supposed to be showing you in association with the other videos, right? So let me bring myself back here real quick, right? And then I'm gonna end this off by saying anybody who sits down and do some studies of just emperors alone, right, in the lower